Hey guys, Cole here. Welcome back to another video. We have news finally about the Fusion. Just got some info provided to us by Plarium. I'm going to show you guys the champion right now. Go through the skills, whether it is worth it for you. It's all up to where you are currently in the game, what champions you have already, and if that kit of this champion, the Fragment collection that is coming, suits your other roster of champions. So let's get started. So here we are with Ugir, the worm eater. All right, let's go. Let me put myself there so we can have a look at the skills better. And this guy is a legendary of the Ogrin tribe. So Ogrin tribe is already kind of a weaker faction, especially if you're trying to push for faction wars. Then this might be it for you. The kit overall, the how he looks, it looks amazing. Reminds you of World of Warcraft for some reason, although he's not a Nordic. Still, the whole equipment that he has on, and I think that's Pythion's head on his left shoulder. I'm not sure. Looks like Python though. Looks pretty cool. Always the graphics in the game, they go way more than you would expect by everything else that the company is doing, right? So the graphics is a 10. Everything else is kind of a 6 at the moment. So anyway, let's go. Worm Wrath. Okay, Worm Wrath. Ooh, how does this look? A1 attacks one enemy, 80% chance of stealing a random buff from the enemy. Also 80% chance of placing a block buff, debuff on the enemy for 2 turns. This is very strong if you book it. So if you book it, it's a guaranteed buff steal and a guaranteed block buff debuff. So that can be very strong in situations where you want to stop certain buffs from affecting the enemy that you're hitting. Just guaranteed. Okay, looks very strong. Can be used for things like clan boss if you're still missing something to block that attack up buff from the boss. But again, just using this legendary for this one doesn't look like it. Let's go. A2 Earth Puncture. Attacks all enemies, 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, then a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. This goes again to 100%. Overall books that you need is 11, by the way. Not that great in terms of the book requirement. He's there on the average, but I would prefer lower than the average on these sort of fragment collections that we are having. So yeah, what else? This A2 looks okay. The AoE 3-turn cooldown might be like a burst damage kind of skill, but the overall kit that this hero has is revolving around his passive, which we'll have a look in a second. But I think just having a damage dealer as an HP damage dealer is very difficult, and we've seen it with Timid. It's gonna be the same with this one, so I doubt that this will be a damage dealer, a worth it damage dealer, especially single target falls off comparing it to multi-hit AoE skills. Anyway, let's have a look at the A3 Ogrin Fortitude. Increase accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. Increase defense if their defense is higher than their attack. Increase attack if their attack is higher instead. That's just it. That's just the buff. It's very limited in terms of use, but again, if you're looking for an increased accuracy buff and something to boost your damage, like increased defense or increased attack, then that's gonna be his kit. I can't, it's very difficult for me to find a place for him right now in terms of arena. Very difficult. He has an arena aura for increasing accuracy. He doesn't really fit with his kit at the moment. Let's have a look at the passive and whether this saves the whole thing. Let's zoom in a little bit. Just have a look. Scourge of Dragons. Whenever an enemy is revived, instantly activates Earth Puncture. So this can drop to 1 turn cooldown. So he can take a turn and then he'll have this available immediately again. If an enemy is revived by a champion from the Lizardman faction, the effects of Earth Puncture cannot be resisted. Earth Puncture is his A2, the AoE skill, by the way. This passive effect will only activate when an enemy is revived using an active skill. So what are active revival skills? It's just a revive, let's say from Arbiter, from Sifi, from Duchess. Those are active skills. Revives from Revive on Death buff, and revives from things like if you have a passive that revives you. There's multiple heroes that have it. A good example would be Bracchus the wolf. All right, from the, is it Skinwalkers? Yeah, Skinwalkers. I don't have him, but yeah, that guy has a revive, so that would not interfere with this skill. So it's not like an anti-revival kind of skill. That's how they advertised it. Plarium just gives us a small brief, like a small summary of what this champion does. I never follow that because I want to give my own thoughts on his skill set. I just open this image and then start recording. So yeah, not anti-revival, is more like on revival. His skills do on revival. So instantly activating Earth Puncture will not place a skill on cooldown. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. That's okay. Yeah, as we said, the cooldown drops by 1. Overall, like the A2 would be nice if it activates and you manage to remove buffs. The problem is, again, with polymorph, it's always going to be the problem with polymorph. When we have these debuffing champions in the game, it's never going to go away until they fix it. So it's not really an excuse to not consider it when you're thinking, oh, they're going to fix it in the future, because we still don't know the fix. It could potentially be very, very different to what we might be thinking. But still, overall kit, average. Very, very honest with this one again. Very average. Looks very similar to Timid, although Timid can remove Stone Skin and is not affected by polymorph. This guy might have higher multipliers, might have lower multipliers. I think this will be just the selling point of this champion, of this fragment collection, will be about people who want to just gather fragments and keep that in terms of CVC points. That's honestly like a really bad reason to just go and spend your resources for a champion, but that's the reality of it. One more thing is, if you're having issues with this specific faction, so if we have a look at the Ogryn tribes, well, it's not open, but let's have a look at the faction overall and what do they have in terms of the kit. They don't have many legendaries in there, and so acquiring one of these, acquiring a champion for Ogryn tribes and using that champion for pushing Ogryn tribes might help you out. He might be the answer, especially with the big AoE that can activate with revivals. I can't remember if the enemies in Faction Wars have revivals themselves, but it is a way to guarantee against that. The epics are very strong on Ogryn tribes, but still, just getting one legendary guaranteed in there who has like a stronger kit, a way to protect you with the increased defense or increased attack to help you do more damage, that can be useful. In terms of arena usage, I doubt he'll have any use. Even worse than Timid, I would imagine his kit. His multipliers are still something that we'll be testing in the near future when we get access to the test server, the updated test server anyway. So I'm not gonna say anything about his damage multipliers. Even if his damage multipliers are good, using him as a way to counter revival teams might be something that you can consider. The good thing about this guy is that he, let's go and have a look. Well, yeah. I forgot it's an image. That he'll attack first. Okay, so he'll do the damage first, and then he'll start removing the buffs from all enemies. And if I understand correctly, the skill counts as a whole together. So he'll attack and try to remove the buff immediately, and try to place the buff, the debuff immediately on the first target. So all of this will be an instant interaction on the first target. And if he happens to get sheep, then all the other targets will not receive the damage from the AoE. So yes, he is susceptible to the polymorph. Again, will you be able to use him with maybe more resistance or something? That could be something in the future, like adding a champion that does more damage the more resistance he has. That will be maybe an answer to what all of these problems we're having with the sheep and the polymorph, and oh, we're gonna get sheeped, oh, we're not gonna get sheeped. It's honestly a pity to be, you know, pigeonholed with this specific skill within the game of 800 champions, and just considering on how bad a champion can be just because they cannot counter a specific skill, and that skill will make them weak. For the most part though, I think players who will be thinking about getting this champion will be limited by the number of shards. As always, the fusions and fragment collections, you're limited by these. These are the resources you need to complete the fusion. Not your energy, not your silver. Energy and silver, you can get them as you go, and if you plan correctly, you can do any content that Raid can push out. Even the ones that got more expensive as time passed, you can still do them with the daily energy that we get, and with just slowly using your silver wisely and using techniques in order to save up your silver. But the shards are the most difficult part, so if you have them, you'll have an easy time getting him. If not, you'll have a hard time, might even an impossible time getting him. So If you're already looking at a very bad situation here on your shards, a good thing to consider is skipping the fusion, skipping the fragment collection, just so that you can prepare for the next one, which will be a December one. Possibly much better. We don't know yet. Possibly could be another Pixinial, or it could be another Torment. Who knows? With Plarium and what's in their heads, what's gonna sell more or not. Honestly, I would try to sell more Torments than Pixinials, but you know, I'm not the one making the decisions. I'm just making content on the game. This was the video, guys. What do you think about the Fragment collection that is coming? It's starting this Thursday, obviously, with the Fusion warm-up. Make sure you do this. It's like some small free stuff. Might get some Prism Crystals. Might help you do like one summon. Maybe you'll get Harima. All right, let me know down below your thoughts. I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.